Now, there's no workout complete without destroying a few trolls, right? You gotta destroy some trolls sometimes. You gotta make sure the trolls aren't taking away your muscle gains, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, guys, you can't take away my, oh, that guy took away some muscle gains. You see that? That guy just took away some muscle gains. You gotta make sure the alien trolls don't take away your muscle gains. And this is me in action. See? No aliens. Ain't none of them stealing my muscle mass. Mountain. I scared him off with my alien destroying techniques.
Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Line Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about tricep training. So one thing I think is underestimated, and by myself sometimes too, not just you guys, but sometimes by myself even, is that sometimes there are subtle tweaks that you can make in an exercise that all of a sudden help you isolate a muscle group so much more than just doing the exercise mindlessly, right? So in this tradition, I used to see people do skull crushers all the time where they just bend the elbows and straighten the elbows, which is fine. You do get a lot of activation in certain parts of the tricep from that. But one thing I found was that when I lifted the elbow more above the head, I started to get a stretch in the long head of the tricep, and I got a benefit that was twofold. One was I was able to access the long head of the tricep along with other parts of the tricep. And then the number two benefit was I was able to keep constant tension on the contraction of the tricep. The tension was constant. And that is one major principle in upping the intensity in training a certain muscle group. I have a feeling there's some of those workout program users in these woods watching me right now. I may have destroyed the aliens, but those freaks of nature that are wandering the woods, I still got to be careful with those guys. I got to watch my back, you know what I'm saying? If somebody sneaks up on me, you guys let me know. Just tell me. Just like click something, click the thumbs up button or comment, like watch out or something, you know, let me know at least, right? Can't have things sneaking up on me, you know? It's bad enough I got to deal with all the wildlife up here. I also got to deal with the monsters in the woods, you know what I'm saying? That's why I need to apply some very specific techniques in order to get bigger and stronger, just because it's a survival thing. It's like I have to survive just to make these videos. It's like a fight for my life every day. I'm telling you, it's crazy. You have no idea what kind of problems I have, you know what I'm saying? Your muscle gains, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, guys, you can't take away my, oh, that guy took away some muscle gains. You see that? Now, the other thing that I just discovered again, and again, this might be because of my own special situation when it comes down to my shoulder and that sort of thing. But one thing I found was that when I bring the elbows above the head and then I extend the elbow, I start to really contract the triceps like normal. But then in order to get that last little bit of a squeeze, if I act like I'm going to press, overhead press at the same time as squeeze, I noticed that it sits the shoulder in the joint just a little bit differently, and I accessed a major pump with triceps. Like it was like night and day. So one of the things you can do is do a skull crusher, but then when you're laying down, as you're extending the arm, then just do a tiny little bit of a press and then an extension of that tricep and see what that feels like. Now, you don't need to use heavy weight. It could be very minor weight, and I did this with dumbbell skull crushers specifically. But this is an example of sometimes a minor tweak, especially in the isolation exercises, how it can really help you access that muscle you're trying to hit failure with. And this can make night and day differences in your physique, right? Because the whole point is to access each individual muscle and push it into individual failure rather than have a bunch of random events happening, like I talked about in bicep curls where people relax at the bottom and then they lift the weight. But a lot of things go on in order to lift the weight. It's not necessarily the bicep that's getting hit. Sometimes it's more the brachialis or the forearm, or sometimes there's a bit of a momentum or body English that's getting the weight up, or sometimes some front delt too. So There's nothing wrong with doing exercises like that, but you may notice some limited results when it comes down to pushing individual muscles to failure, because that's really what it takes in order to get that real pumpy and lumpy, crazy bodybuilder look. Just lifting the weights for the sake of the weights, you're going to have a certain type of look in your physique, but if you aren't pushing individual muscles to failure, there's just nervous system fatigue or some other fatigue that's taking over. You're not going to create muscle mass in a freaky sort of nature. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get that look. You're not going to get the big peaked biceps. You're not going to get a certain look that we know bodybuilders for. So incline skull crusher I find is a great example of using this technique, but there's a couple things I want to go over with you for triceps for constant tension. One is I find if I have the elbows up, a lot of people will skull crusher like this. They'll just point the elbows to the ceiling and they just come straight down. And although you will feel some tricep activation there, you'll also feel a little bit more pressure on the elbow. But one thing I found that engages more of the tricep is if I bring the elbows back and then bend the arms, letting them come down far enough that tension is still on the tricep. So I'm not letting them come down like this. So that's the other thing people do. They'll let the dumbbells come down and then they'll rest at the bottom and then they'll come up. Now you can do this to get a couple cheat reps, but ideally you want to keep the tension on that long head of the tricep as long as possible while contracting and stretching with tension on the muscle. And then when you can no longer do any more, then if you want, you could take a rest at the bottom and then swing them up a little bit to get some extra weight or get some extra reps, right? But in the end, you want to push those triceps to failure constantly first, right? And that is one of the ways you can keep tension on that tricep. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is also this works best with lighter weight. So although I do advocate using some heavier weight on isolations from time to time, you know, like 10 rep sets or 12 rep sets, that sort of thing, I find this type of movement works great using lighter weight because you will definitely feel it differently. You will feel any isolation movement differently depending on what type of weight you're using. And sometimes with heavy weight, your technique inevitably does shift a bit, right? So sometimes with some lighter weight, it's great. And also make sure you try to keep the elbows in as well, right? So elbows are towards the ceiling and then I bring them back and then I bend it about 90 degrees at the elbow and then up. See, that's how I can maintain tension on the contraction of the tricep at the same time as even when I'm down here, there's tension on the tricep. It's not relaxing. If I was relaxing, I'm taking the tension off and that doesn't do me as good, right? You want to keep the tension on. It's that constant tension principle through stretch at the same time. And then of course, if I want to squeeze the end, I just pretend that I'm pressing like a shoulder press at the end, just a tiny bit. And that gets that extra little contraction. Mountain. It is good for you to experiment with your isolation exercises, you know, even when you're doing leg extensions. I don't do a lot of leg extensions, but if you do leg extensions, just changing toe positioning, you know, start with toe positioning inwards and then extend outwards on the way up or vice versa and see what you notice. And you're going to expand your awareness through what movements and rotations of the hips and things affect your muscles, where they affect individual muscle fibers. And you can start catering these exercises to hit those weak links that you feel really need a lot of work. That's it, I'm gonna take care of business. I take care of business now, that's it. Done with these guys. They use my workout programs, and then they terrorize me in the woods. It's just not right. Hello, monsters who use my workout programs. All you monsters, you were ungrateful. At least leave a testimonial on my website before you eat me. So yeah, this is a journey that continues. It just continues where you have an individual situation, your body's developing a certain way, and then you start to play around with an exercise. So for the longest time, triceps were kind of boring to me. I was like, I'm getting a bit of a pump, but there's something missing. And I knew it, so I started to explore with different ranges of motion or different movements of where my elbows were or different positioning, and therefore discovered this. So if you're noticing there's a body part that you're struggling with, you're struggling to activate it, perhaps there's a bit of experimentation that's needed in order for you to hit it properly and therefore get a massive blast of growth. Mountain. So yeah, I hope this helps you in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalglambodybuilding.com, and thanks to the patron supporters, and take care for now. I don't know if you noticed, but there's no aliens up here. That's because I shot them. I shot them down. Destroyed. This is actual footage of me destroying them right here. You want some, buddy? You want some? Yeah? That's right. Yeah. Oh, go look at that guy. That guy was trying to get some. Everybody wants part of my muscle gains. You see that? I preserved my muscle mass right there. I became anti-catabolic. I became anabolic. Don't let the aliens take your gains. That's just sound advice.